Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know it's towards the end of the day, so we'll try and keep it as entertaining as possible. The first thing I want to congratulate everyone on is finding this room. It took me about a half an hour to actually find, and I was the speaker, so I'm glad I gave myself some time. So you guys should give yourselves a round of applause for actually finding this room. We're actually going to make this as interactive as possible to make sure you guys are awake and keep me entertained. We're going to do this as a very interactive presentation. I'm going to actually ask the audience to poll them in terms of whether they think something is fact or fiction. Okay? So I'm going to poll you guys based upon data, and we'll talk about that. So from an agenda perspective, it's 20 minutes, this presentation. We're going to move quickly. I'd love to make it as interactive as possible in terms of questions, but we are going to be somewhat limited in terms of time, so I'll try and get to as many questions as possible. So I will talk fast, and we're going to cover a lot of ground. So just from an agenda perspective, what we're going to cover is the following. Number one, we're going to define video marketing. So before we can talk about facts and fiction, I want to make sure we're all on the same page in terms of terms, definition, understanding what video marketing is. And then in terms of the facts and fiction section, what we'll do is we'll look at some data across 800 plus small and medium-sized businesses, across 6 million impressions. I'll share that with you in a minute. And the idea is what we're going to compare and contrast is performance across the web, mobile, and social, and see how that performs. And as to steal something from Steve Jobs, we'll talk about one more thing. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of video marketing, because that term gets thrown around a lot, we want to make sure and we understand what video marketing is. So I took this from internetmarketingdictionary.com, very well-known site, as you all must know. But regardless of that, they found a great definition. And what they wrote is video marketing means including video into one's marketing efforts to promote an offer. And it can be done in any type of video. And the point here is, and the reason why I put this in red, is how I define video marketing, and I think really how it should be defined, is that video marketing means that we're using our videos to help drive our business, right? We're creating these videos for a reason. And the idea is really how do we drive more leads and sales from our video? And that to me is what the definition of video marketing is. So that's number one. Number two is when we talk about this study and we talk about data that we've collected, one of the things I want to talk about is what an engagement is. So for the sake of this presentation and for the sake of our data, the way we're defining an engagement is that a physical action that a viewer is taking. In other words, while they're watching this video, are they clicking on the call to action button? Are they engaging with apps? Are they sharing the video? A lot of times the word engagement is used for different reasons. It's for mouse hovers, for percentage of video being viewed, right? There's a very broad definition of the word engagement. We take a more strict understanding in terms of the data we've seen of an actual viewer who's watching the video. Are they taking an action? That's how we're defining video engagement. Lastly, before we get into the facts and fiction section, I want to talk about the source of the data. So this is taken from our Viewbix quarterly video engagement report. It actually will be available for download starting tomorrow. So if you see me afterwards, I can tell you where to download the report. But the idea is just to give you an idea of where this data is coming from. Number one, we pulled over 800 plus small and medium-sized businesses and affiliate marketing companies. We have over 6 million impressions that we analyzed. And just to give you an idea, just the general business side, as I mentioned, small and medium-sized business report, 86% of the companies were less than 10 employees. So very focused, large amount of data that we analyzed. So our first fact and QA, I always skip to the end. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So number one, fact or fiction? And I'm going to ask you guys. So by a show of hands, right? Who thinks that if you put a call to action on a video, it will drive more engagement? Who thinks that's a fact? Who thinks that's a fiction? Okay, so facts are slightly winning. The answer is, drum roll please, fact. Okay, and why do I say that's a fact? Is that 11.5% of the people in the study who watched a video clicked on one of the call to action button. Think about that engagement number, 11.5%, okay? That's a huge number, right? And we have case studies that show the ROI from those click-throughs are significant, up to a 13x ROI, which means that not only are people clicking on the call to action button, but they're actually purchasing or taking the action that the business owner is looking for. That's a huge number. So if you want to drive more than 10% of your viewers to take a call to action while watching your videos, putting a call to action on your video is critical. Now, the other thing you have to remember here is that what that call to action is, right, is critical importance. And we see a lot of our clients are testing different language. So for example, the difference between shop now versus buy now, right? Sometimes what you'll find is when you put buy now, users, when they click on buy now, sometimes they're afraid it means that I'm going to buy this. Now, it's a bit silly, right? Because how could you buy something without putting your credit card in, right? But there are little, things between shop now or learn more or get more information or buy now, right? Those small changes in the call to action language have profound impacts in terms of driving your click-through rate. So that's something to consider when we think about the call to action button. So that's fact number one. And again, like I said, we're going to move quickly here. Number two, and this is a big question. We talk about the proliferation of social, right? Social's huge, right? But don't forget about the web, right? A lot of our traffic is coming to websites, right, still, and although social gets a lot of buzz, right, it doesn't work better than the web. So the question here that I'll pose to you guys now is, when we talk about these interactive videos, what performs better, the web or social? And let me define social, Facebook and Twitter. So when I put my video on my blog, on my website, does that outperform me putting the video on my Facebook page or Twitter? So I want to say again, same idea, raise by a show of hands. Who here thinks that when you put your video on your website or blog, it performs better than social? Fact or fiction? Is that fact? True or not true? So who thinks that if you put it on your Facebook page or Twitter, it will outperform the web? Okay, so we have a social leading crowd here. So the answer is, so we're asking the question, does the web perform better than social? The answer is no. So good, the audience is pretty good so far. So let me just give you these numbers, and these numbers are huge. We see on average a 21% engagement rate. And again, let's recall our data. These are people who are clicking on the call to action button. These are people who are engaging in the video itself, who are sharing the video. 21% on average web, 46% of social. That number is huge, right? 20% is a huge number, 46. And just to give you an idea about the percentage of data, obviously is a bit smaller in terms of social. The data itself is probably 85-15 in terms of more traffic on web, but that's increasing. And I think we'll talk about mobile in a second. The trends towards social and the trends towards mobile, it's a much more engaging experience social. You're getting it from a trusted source, right? And I think that has a big, profound impact. The other thing that we've seen is that part of the reason why this number is so big is that, especially when it comes to Twitter, is that people are clicking off. The video plays inline in Facebook. When you click off on Twitter, a lot of times people are driving to landing pages that have the video as the most dominant part of that page. It's a very dedicated landing page. And so that's another very interesting piece of data that we've seen, is that having dedicated landing pages where the video is the main focus is one of the most effective ways to drive engagement from your videos. So keeping things moving, now let's talk about mobile, right? We talk about trends, we talk about social, we talk about the web, we talk about mobile, right? Again, everyone in this room, probably spends as much time surfing on their phone or tablet as they do on their computer. Does mobile devices perform better than the web? So the same exact question we asked before, I'll poll the audience again. Who thinks the web performs better than mobile? Nobody. Interesting. Who here thinks that mobile performs better than the web? Nobody again. All right, who won? Okay. So, all right. So again, last chance. Any takers on web versus mobile? All right, there we go. Come on, we got to get some people, voting for that. All right, last chance. But this is our last fact or fiction. Anyone taking web? By the way, I feel like I'm in the casino. Red, black. All right. The answer is faction. All right, I made that up. But so the answer is you're both right? The two people who chose web. So it depends on the device type, okay? And I think this is very interesting data. What we found, smaller devices underperform versus the web. Larger devices perform better. Okay, and I think people one of the things we're asked is why, right? And I think size and right. I think and I think we talk about this is that if you guys remember, who here remembers when Steve Jobs introduced the iPad? Anyone remember that? Right? And if you recall, does anyone remember what he was doing when he introduced it? Sitting down, right? He was on a couch, right? They had this screen. They had a big couch in the middle of the room, and he's sitting there, and he puts the iPad on his knees and right on his lap, right? And the whole point, which was this crazy device, this iPad, was that what Steve Jobs said is it's going to create this connection between you and your device, right? It's going to be very casual. It's going to be very interactive, right? And what's interesting is he really created this revolution in terms of tablet computing. And what the data shows is that this touch phenomenon of being able to touch your screen and interact with it has created an engagement, bonanza in terms of your ability to convert users. And so when you think about kind of your mobile strategy, right, you need to be thinking about, not smaller screens and larger screens, right? And I think the other thing which is, I think, challenging for smaller screens is, especially in the iPhone, is that when you open the video on an iPhone, it opens up in a separate window, right? The engagement gets separated from the video. So the whole, our whole premise here is that if you add engagements inside the video, it will drive more engagements, right? If you put those calls to action in apps. And so the point here is that this exactly, personifies the point, is that with the iPhone, it opens a separate window, and then you have to go back in to either engage either before or after the video. On tablet devices or on the web, the video stays contained within the unit together with the calls to action and the apps. So I think it proves two things here, which is number one, having the call to action and apps inside the video player, right, is critical. And two, this touch phenomenon. I think the other interesting thing is that as we spend more time on these kind of new devices that are between laptops and tablet devices, you can expect your engagement numbers to increase based upon the touch experience. And lastly, as I promised, one more thing. We've been using engagement and we've been talking about sales. One important thing not to forget about is lead gen, right? And irregardless of what marketing tool that you're using in terms of your mail tool that you're using, whatever form fill, if you're using a custom form fill, right? One of the other data point that has been very interesting is that driving lead gen is a really exceptional tool as part of your video marketing strategy. So it's not always that you're going to convert your viewer into a customer right away, right? A lot of times it's they want to learn more. They want to find out more about your business. They're not ready to make a purchase just yet. And so using your email marketing tools in conjunction with your video becomes a very important part of your video marketing strategy. And I think, that's an important thing not to forget, that it's not always about driving a sale right now. It's about making a connection with your customer and doing that over a long-term period. And that might be lead gen, it might be getting more information. Don't forget about this merger, and I think this is going to be a really significant trend of leads together with video and engaging your customer and creating a relationship with them over a period of time. Right? Ultimately, we'd love to be able to drive customers as soon as they see us and learn about us, but nurturing those customers is critical of importance, and making sure to keep that in mind, that you want to start nurturing those customers and create a connection with them as soon as you can. So I saved a couple of minutes at the end here for Q&A, so let me know if you guys have any questions in terms of video marketing, strategies, content creation, you name it. Love to leave you guys with a couple of minutes for questions.
Just a quick question about the last point you just mentioned.
Sure. So it's the opposite. So again, correct. So again, number one, I think that is very important. I think the challenge, people ask us all the time, hey, I want to be able to put my interactive Viewbix in my video, right, in my mouse. The challenge is getting video to work in email.
That's why I asked.
Correct. So I think it's something that you could expect probably to see more of in 2013, and we have that on our roadmap as well. But what we've started is done the opposite, where when someone's watching my video, for example, on Facebook, right? Exactly. So on Twitter, on Facebook, on my blog, on my website, right? A lot of times that join my mailing list is in a separate part. What you want to, the reason why video marketing is so effective is, in general, when people come to a website, 85% of the time they're spending watching a video. So while that person's watching the video, that's when you want to get them to take the action you're looking for. That's why video marketing is such an effective tool. So the idea here is, to your point, is that if you have my mailing list integrated in my video, so while they're watching that video, whether it's on my website, whether it's on my blog, inline in Facebook, Twitter, at that point, they're the most engaged. And that's where I can get them to sign up. And then the other thing we've seen, which is why I think it's so powerful, is they can complete that sign up in the player. They don't have to leave the website. They don't have to go somewhere else. Once you start redirecting people, right, much more challenging. The beauty of having a lead gen in your video is your ability to convert that viewer into a lead while they're watching it. And I think that's why it's one of our most effective apps, right, is the ability to have those tools integrated in your video while people are watching it. Other questions? Guys, don't be shy. End of the day, you want to get those last questions out. I saved some time, guys. I could have talked for more.
So those apps you mentioned?
Yep.
Integrated video? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Could you mention some of them that really work? Like, okay, so email and
Sure.
right? Are there specific kind of ones that you could highlight and talk a little bit more about?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, so what we've seen, and part of this report actually, I didn't include here is, we also did analysis of which apps worked, right? So we talk about top 5. Number one, one of the top was email integration, that was a big one. Social sharing, obviously, was a big one. Google Maps, one of our very popular app. Again, a lot of different people are using it for events that they're driving. Nonprofits are using it for, promotions that they're running in terms of walkathons and things like that. Real estate agents of property location, that's a very popular app. The other ones were related videos. So I watch one video, I want to see other videos. That was a very popular app. And lastly, I think the last one was feeds. People who are able to put embedded feeds, so both static and dynamic feeds, so that I can see product listings, my eBay auctions, right, listings as well. Feed-based apps were popular. Those were probably the 5 most popular apps that we've seen. And again, those are email marketing, related videos, social sharing, Google Maps, and feeds in the video. Those are the top 5 most popular apps.
And when you actually integrate these apps, do you find that say you're presenting within the video, do you find that the actual dialogue has to kind of relate to to encourage the user to take these actions, or do you just place them there?
Yeah, so I think it's TBD in terms of to be determined in terms of what the story is. Obviously, I think my gut tells me that, but I don't have this backed up by data yet, is the more correlated that is, right, the higher likelihood is going to do that. And the reason you say that is, when we think about our most effective clients, right, they're trying to accomplish something. So if I'm a real estate agent, and if I have photos, if I have product listings, if I'm a guy renting a property, right, if I'm a nonprofit, I'm an educational side, I'm an affiliate marketer, while I'm watching this video, right, I'll give you an example. One of our popular ones, that wasn't top 5, but it was pretty close, was photos. Right? You think it's crazy. I'm watching a video. Why would photos be an effective app? But people who are engaged with this want to get more information. So I think related content is very critical in terms of that experience, because the whole point is that, as I mentioned about creating this relationship, is doing it in a way that while I'm watching this, what am I not getting from the video? What other information am I looking for? So I think related content is an important criteria in terms of the other apps that you're looking for to include in the player itself. Cool. All right, we have a minute left. Any last question before we wrap up? Otherwise, I can send you guys home early. Okay, cool. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you guys got a lot of this 20-minute session. And if you have any private questions afterwards, happy to talk to you as well. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.